Yeah, y'all. Everybody gonna have to check out the rest, man.
So our guest, our first guest of the day, is Miss Brenda L. Crump.
Trying to bring it in, but what's going on?
Advocate, children advocate, student advocate, and she's always given. She's the mistress, Black Westchester mistress of information. A lot of times in the early days, me and Damon would be in the studio. We'd be talking about somebody, and they'd be like, "Yeah, it's a book. So and so got a book," and across the screen, the information would come up, and we'd be reading it and sound like we know what we're talking about. Like we always knew what the name of that book was. It was Brenda giving us the information. She was always feeding us the information. So she's been down with us since day one. Welcome to the show, Brenda L. Crump. The reason he played that, I said, "Yo, Brenda's on her way. She putting on her boots." And I told you about the boots. He said, "Oh, I got to play this Mexican got boots thing." So that's how that started.
Yeah. Yeah, you should have told me. I'd have brought my Timbs to show, my boots.
Yeah.
So I wanted to have this part of the conversation. Brenda's vegan. Damon is, I think, vegan. Are you full vegan?
Plant-based.
Plant-based. And both of y'all have said the same thing to me several times. We went to an event recently, and there weren't a lot of plant-based options. I went to an event that was supposed to be a health and wellness thing, and
they had fried food.
They were selling fried chicken nuggets and stuff and stuff, and it was like there was no healthy options. There really wasn't healthy. And you know, when we talk about for our Black leaders, our elected officials, our community leaders, our leaders of organizations, one of the biggest things we talk about in our community is the health disparities that our people have. And then they have these events, these galas, these events, and they don't have no healthy options at the events. So they're contributing to the issue. And for people that are plant-based and have given up meat or, you know, whatever, there's nothing for them to eat when they come to things. So that's what we wanted to kick off the show. And Brenda has been posting this all over social media for a while now. So I was like, yo, we could do a show on that. So welcome to the show, Brenda L. Crump.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. Thank you.
So the mic is yours.
Ready? Okay. All right. So I used to eat meat. Let's put that out there. And I'm not saying that meat does not taste good. I know that it's not good for my body. So if somebody's cooking some bacon still smells good to me. And it probably still tastes good if I ate some. So I'm not, coming down on anybody who eat meat. I'm saying eat your meat if that's what you want to do. That's your health, your choice, healthy lifestyle choice. But what I'm saying is that when we are having different events within our community, and this is a nice, polite request to our city, county, state elected officials, that when you're having different events, consider having healthier food option choices for people. And especially because our elected officials, they know the stats, I'm sure, better than I do in reference to the health issues in our community. We know when we had COVID that it was like, it hit Mount Vernon bad, it hit some other neighboring cities really bad. And the reason was why? Because of health issues in the Black and brown communities. So we're talking about high blood pressure, cholesterol, diabetes, obesity. We're talking about heart issues, etc. And the list just goes on. And all of it traced back to our dietary intake. Yes, there are said to be some things that are hereditary. But if we change the trajectory of our lifestyle choices of what we eat and exercising and dealing with our mental, emotional, physical, social, spiritual health, that changes that direction for us, even if our loved ones have some of these diseases. So again, I'll go back to our elected officials know the stats better than us because they use the stats to get different monies for our communities and grants and funding for different programs and help and services. So they know the stats. So to whom much is given, much is required. You know the stats, then Let's start making a change is what I'm saying, community. Let's start building healthier communities. And let's start with the events that's being held, the events that's being hosted throughout the community. Let's start. I'm not saying don't have any meats, don't have any animal byproducts, but what I am saying is let's start offering more healthy choices. And if I'm really candid, and I like to be candid, can I be candid? And nobody get offended?
Yeah.
Because it's all coming from love. Is that people are greedy. Okay, we're greedy. I'm a person. I'm in there. We're greedy. And you go somewhere and there is food. First thing we want to know is there food? And we want to know is there free food? And then it's on from there. And so if you provide, and if the food tastes good, now we're not talking about some plant-based, whole food, vegan stuff that tastes nasty. But if the food tastes good, people are going to eat it. So if that's all you have, they're going to eat it. Damien, you remember when we went to, and I think it was Kenneth Chambers' screening of the movie for his father, and they had I think it was eggplant sandwiches or some kind of sandwiches.
They had the rolls. They had the wraps, the vegan wraps.
Okay, right. And then they had your traditional standard meat wraps. All the vegan wraps were gone, and everybody that was eating vegan wraps were not vegan. Then they left all the meat wraps. So when we go back to maybe get another wrap, there's no more vegan wraps. And it wasn't all vegan people eating the vegan wraps.
Well, you got to understand, in White Plains, it's a different crowd. You have a lot of white people that support Kenny, and they eat healthy. So it depends on the crowd that you're dealing with, on what you're going to have, and I can say with that, because I dealt with that crowd since the death of his father, and a lot of them are vegans. Yeah. And every event they serve the wraps. Like you could never salad wraps, and then they have the other stuff, but they always, the group of people that help Kenny, they always have vegan food there, because a lot of people that support him up in the White Plains area, in that area, they eat more healthy than.
But I think the point she was making though was that, and I know I heard this from you, like all the other food was still there and people was eating it, but people ate all the vegan stuff. Like they didn't have enough. There wasn't enough of just that.
Right. It wasn't. It wasn't.
So after that first sitting, anybody who was vegan wanted something to eat. They had nothing to eat. There was
if you came late, it's a wrap. If you came late, it's a wrap. But I tell people, man, I wrote in my book, like you have to really do research on which restaurants that you go to, and what and who are you eating from. It's very important, and it's not just your health but your spirituality, because people don't know who. If you don't know who's cooking your food, you don't know what spirits that they're putting in your food, and you're putting that stuff, you're digesting it in your system, whether it's vegan or whether it's regular food. Like we really got to be serious on because this is the go out generation. They just hit all these damn restaurants and they wonder why they crazy, right? They wonder why they having mental breakdowns, because you're putting other people's food in your system and you're not cooking at home. Like even when you cook at home, you're cooking at home, you with your loved one, you with your family, that enjoyment and love, that energy, that spirituality is going in the food. My mother used to always tell me, she said, you'll know when your wife is mad at you because your food will taste different. And that's from Mary Buffalo, right? Because of the spirit that goes into the food. So we have to be serious about it. Now, Brenda, you said something about the politicians. Politicians don't read reports.
What she did say. But what she said, it's true. When they want to do for grants or whatever, they use these stats, even if they have somebody else bring the stats to them. That 80% of our community is this, 60% of our community has heart disease, has 60%, and they use this money, they use this to get grants or whatever to come to bring money to the city.
They don't pass legislation
No.
to make they don't pass laws or legislation to make people healthy. There's two studies on a youth detention center and a correctional facility that they turned all their food plant-based, and fights and assaults dropped 60%.
Wow.
Because they wasn't putting that processed meat in their system, that bad food in their system. And then you sit here and I look at the food that they were serving the officers was horrible. I know what they were serving the inmates was crazy. But then they allowed them to spend commissary on bad food.
Junk food, and yeah.
Right. And then what they do? They're in there 6 months, and guess what happened? They got high blood pressure, high cholesterol, type 2 diabetes, and now they're medicating them. Like, this is the system that we have to, I think we have to really, 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 be more vocal about it with our local politicians.
Absolutely. And that's why, I was saying to AJ, I said, like, I said, I can't, man. I gotta post something because, and people know me by now, our elected officials, they give me the, all right, yeah, Brenda, we got, we're gonna have something, or we got salad, or we got fruit. Because it starts with us who know better to help others to learn better so that we all can do better. So
absolutely. Hold on, I'm bringing you in. Oh, there you go.
I'm asking, so is there going to be something plant-based, among the food options? Is there going to be food? And when we say vegan, sometimes people are afraid of the word vegan. Mm-hmm. But a baked potato is vegan. Do you not eat salads, garden salads, whatever type of salads, whatever type of lettuce you use, tomatoes, cucumbers, onions, peppers, mushrooms, whatever type of salad you make up, that's vegan. A sweet potato is vegan. All your fruits, apples, oranges, peaches, plums, pears, watermelons, strawberries, your berries or whatever, melons, that's vegan. And so when you say vegan, people are like, oh, I don't want any vegan food. And, it's just about when you get from the foundation, like the salads or the fruits. Every place can have some salad and fruit because that covers everyone. Some people say, we can't accommodate everybody's eating habits, everybody eating lifestyle. If you have salad, you've covered everyone. Because I don't know a pescatarian, vegan, vegetarian, fruitarian, or what have you, because there's the botanical fruits, cucumbers, tomatoes, and stuff that we call vegetables that are really fruits. So, and if you have a fruit platter, you have fruits or you have vegetables, you're covering everyone. Because no matter what your lifestyle is, your dietary intake, you're more than likely going to be eating fresh fruits and or fresh vegetables. And so you're covering everyone. You're covering everyone. So it starts with us to say to our elected officials and our different entities and organizations that are hosting events, it's up to us to ask those questions. Are there going to be? Are you going to have? You should have because of the stats in our community. Let's do this introduction. Let's start introducing healthier food options for our community. That's how we're going to bring about a change.
Absolutely. I wanted to say two things too, real quick. So Damon is famous for saying, we lose a lot of our loved ones from heart disease and all of these things and diabetes and stuff. And then when we go to bury them at the repast, we serve the people the food that killed the person we came there to celebrate. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. So I wanted to bring that up. And two, I wanted to speak as a witness. So Brenda's husband, she's a widow now, her former husband and her mother both had a lot of health issues. She changed their diet to plant-based diet, and both of them had come off their medication, and all their numbers were good. So, and we had Eric Adams before told you when he changed his diet, go see that interview. He talked about they cleared up his eyes, and they talked about they was gonna have to cut his finger or his toe off or something or whatever.
His fingers, his toes, and he went blind in one. And he went blind in one eye because of the diabetes.
He changed to a total plant-based diet, and so Dr. Cedric said when he was on the show about the DNA thing and genetic, anything you can change is not genetic. I cannot change being black. You know, you can bleach your skin and stuff, but I'm always be black. You know what I'm saying? I can't. That's genetic, but a lot of these things have to do with our diet, our intake, and stuff like that. So I just, I wanted to compliment Brenda. When you hear her speak, she's actually done this with two of her relatives, changed their diet totally, and they're off the medication. So Brenda, want to speak to that? Then we're going to introduce.
Thank you for that. That's the intro to my testimonies, because it's tried, tested, and proven, and it's not something that you just reading in a book, like one of my books I got here.
Who wrote
that author? I got a number of books, but it's tried, tested, and proven. So it's not something that you just read in a book or somebody else's story that you heard. It's just so abstract. It's not real to you. No, it's real to me. Because my husband, in 2017, the doctors told him that he had to have open heart surgery. He pondered with it. He was like, nah, I'm not letting them crack open my chest, was his words, his language. And he was on high blood pressure medicine. He was on some heart medicine. He was on the Daily Bear aspirin. He was on high cholesterol medicine. And he said, you know what? And I don't want to live a life of medicines either. Now, this is not something I'm recommending that people do, but for him, he prayed, he fasted, and he stopped all his medications. He stopped eating meat, poultry, seafood. Yes, people, seafood is meat. Fish is meat. Shrimp is meat. He stopped eating all of that and all animal byproducts. January 1st of 2018, he stopped on the dime. Oof, that's what you call a real alpha dog right there. He's the man right there. He stopped on a dime. There was no weaning or nothing. He was really serious about this. And as I said, he prayed, he fasted, and he said, Lord, you said you never leave me nor forsake me. He says, I'm jumping. Not that I'm jumping. He jumped and said, Lord, I've already jumped. I need you to catch me, because he's already jumped. He stopped all of his medication that he had been taking for, I don't know, maybe like 10 years or something, double-digit years. January of 2018, he did that. Then about in March, we went to Texas to get a second opinion about him having open heart surgery. We went to a Dr. Baxter Montgomery, Heart and Wellness, and his slogan is Beyond the Script. Bottom line, he did not have to have the open heart surgery. We had already changed his diet before we went there. So to go through a part of Dr. Baxter's Montgomery program is this detoxification. We had already did that. We were ready to go. What's the next step? But in the short of it, my husband returned. We came back to New York, and his primary physician wanted him to get back on medications. So by this time, I started going with him to his doctor visits. Because before I wasn't, he's a grown man going to your own doctor visit. You don't need me. But now you need me because, my husband's kind of like, whatever the doctor. Well, hold on, wait a minute. He doesn't have high blood pressure. The blood pressure's not high. Why you want to give him back the medication? And he did say that he don't want to live a life of medication. So what can we do holistic? What can we do plant-based to replace the medication? So my husband took a bottle. And he wrote on the bottle garlic pills. So his bottle that he had, his high blood pressure pills, he now put garlic pills. He break open the clove, a bulb of garlic to the individual cloves, and he took one, at least at a minimum of one daily raw he chewed up. Blood pressure down. A friend of ours come over to the house, blood pressure issues. My husband started, giving him his testimony, telling him about what he's done with the garlic. So the friend says, all right, I'm going to try that. Friend tries it, but stays on his medication and trying that. He goes to the doctor and his blood pressure is too low. So the doctor's like, wow, what are you doing? Your blood pressure is low, because he's doing the garlic and he's on the medication. So he told the doctor what he was doing. The doctor said, oh, stop that garlic stuff. Just continue to take your medication.
No, exactly. Yeah.
Really?
Exactly.
Why?
Exactly.
He found a way to control the blood pressure. My mom, her testimony, my mother, same thing. She had high blood pressure, cholesterol, anemic. She has some stomach problems, taking medications. My mother has Lewy body dementia. And I went down to North Carolina to get her and bring her up here to live with me so that I can take care of her. Now, my mother was, she's from the South, and my mom could cook. My mom have like 3 meats in one meal setting. She have 3 meats. But I changed her diet. I transitioned her over. All that's gone. No more, not even anemic. She's not even anemic anymore. I changed over her diet. I'm telling you, people, is try, test it, and prove it. Now, I myself, I thank God, both hands go up, that I don't have any known medical problems that I'm aware of. However, I transitioned. I did it to support my husband in his journey. And then, I'm the cook, so I'm not, cooking 2 and 3 different meals. But I did it as prevention. So I don't have any of those health ailments. And I'm going to continue to improve upon what I'm doing. Because I always have this saying of a good, better, best. Never let it rest until your good becomes better and your better becomes best. Don't ever settle for less. So I'm not at best in my diet. There's always room for improvement, and I'm going to be improving more to be more preventive. But I'm telling you, it's tried, tested, and proven. My mother went into the hospital maybe about a year ago, and she went in on no medications. When she came out, while she was in there, they was maybe giving her like maybe 10, 11, whatever medications. When she come out, I'm like, yo, we can't do this. We can't do the medications. So she come out with the blood pressure medication. So her doctor knows me. I'm like, okay, doc, I'm going to let you know we need to wean off this. I'm just not going to stop it. I'm just not going to do it myself. I know, Ms. Crump. And then even the doctor admitted that although the medication helps, it also hurts. It's also creating other issues that you don't see now, but down the line, it's creating other issues.
Exactly.
So it helps us. And sometimes some people need medication at the moment, but it always should be weaning off, trying to do what we can do without the medication. So now my mom's off that. So she came out the hospital. She was still on the blood pressure medication. They gave her a blood pressure cuff where I took her blood pressure. It read in. The doctor was able to see it right away. And I said, so look, we're going to work on this. I said, because I don't want her on these medications. I know how to control her blood pressure. Remember, tried, tested, and proven.
Exactly.
I've been there, done that. So she's off. She's not on any medications. She's 76 years old. No medical problems that I'm aware of. So all the high blood pressure, the cholesterol, the anemic, the stomach problems, none of that stuff. It's tried, tested, and proven.
And we have to understand, medical doctors are medical doctors. They're not nutritionists. Not many doctors take actual nutrition classes in their medical in their medical field. So when you're having a discussion about nutrition and what to put in the body, they don't know. And it's unfortunate, but that should change. But we also know, big pharma's big pharma, right? And they're gonna pimp you. For some reason, my doctor is still talking about the COVID shot. I'm like, dude, if you ask me about this COVID shot again, I'm gonna go get another doctor. Please do not say that to me. After I told them from the beginning, I'm not doing it. But every time, I'm like, how many times do I gotta tell you no? Like we're grown men. So, but they push these medications. Yeah. We could deal with it naturally. Our bodies are so I mean, our bodies are so wonderful, and I don't even think modern science has caught up to the things that our bodies can do.
Never will.
If we're not exercising, if we're not eating right, if we're not keeping our stress level down, everything our body is designed to do, it breaks it down.
Proper rest.
It breaks it down. So we have to exactly, and proper sleep. Sleep is important. Sleep is important. People are running around chasing money, and they going straight to the graveyard. Straight to the graveyard. Trying to get the bag, trying to be boss chicks and boss dudes, and they're going straight to the graveyard. Ain't no need to get a BBL and all that stuff, and you got high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and diabetes. You just wasted 20 grand.
Spend that 20 grand on eating healthier, because on that note, with the blood pressure cuff, it started out free. They gave us the blood pressure cuff for my mom, and I take her blood pressure, and it go into the office. If it's too low, I get my phone ring. They're calling me. If it's too high, my phone is ringing. So eventually I started seeing like a charge for this, $35 a month. So I'm like, wait a minute, what is this $35 for? I call in trying to find out what it's for. Come to find out, it's to monitor the blood pressure. I'm monitoring it.
Because
First of all, we had a cuff anyway. I had one just like theirs. It just didn't register into the office. And I was checking the blood pressure anyway. We got a nice cuff, a little bit better than theirs because it keeps the record and everything for me. But theirs registered right into the office. Mine was not. But I said, wait a minute. We can't do this. I said, because the $35 I'm spending on a month for you to monitor does not cure if she does get high blood pressure, if it goes up. And I can spend that $35 on berries, on the leafy green vegetables, on the garlic, on the ginger, etc., the things that I was giving my mom that brought down the blood pressure. That's $35 I can be spending on that.
Right. I think everybody who has those type of issues, especially high blood pressure, heart issues and stuff like that, the best thing to get is an Apple Watch. The Apple Watch saved one of my friend's lives. Saved his life because it was telling him his blood pressure was too low. And he kept resetting it because he thought something was wrong. And then after 4 times resetting it, and it kept telling them that, he ended up going to the clinic and they rushed him to the hospital. So I think
smartwatches, not even just Apple Watch.
Right, not just an Apple Watch, but any smartwatch, you could download programs that can monitor your vitals. I got a ring that monitors my heartbeat, and this is, I mean, right now with technology, we have it. We have it in our hand to be healthier, and we understand that, it's the food is what makes us healthy, and your kitchen is your medicine cabinet. So the kitchen will kill you, or it will heal you or kill you.
And you know what? I want to say, because the other argument is, well, my parents and my grandparents and my great-grandparents ate this food and they didn't have some of these issues. You know what? The food now has more chemicals, has more...
It's different.
All kinds of stuff. The stuff your great grandparents was eating was a lot more purer and fresher and healthy than what we eat. Like this stuff, they put all the stuff in the chemical, all the stuff in the food to make it last.
Air quality, everything is different.
Yeah. So what they were eating, and a lot of them lived on farms and stuff, and they was eating fresher food anyway, straight out the ground. Like, what I'm saying? So I want to introduce our guests. I want to give our guests Marty a chance to chime in on this situation. Tell everybody who you are, and if you have anything to add to the conversation we're having right now.
Well, you guys were talking about rap.
Oh yes, we were talking about rap. Yes,
you were talking about, were those sandwich raps, or do you want me to rap?
Both. Hey, hit a beat.
And the reason I say is because I have actually studied the history of rap. I am the proud owner of We Got Our Own Thing, written by, I would call him a political friend, Mr. A.J. Woodson.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
So I'm happy to talk about whatever you want to talk about. I would take the the analogy that you're making. I don't know whether I call you Dr. Crumb or Brenda, but what I would say is, what I take away from it is, like, when you look at a person, you can kind of see like it all goes together. Their maybe spirituality, their diet, kind of their environment, everything. And I think if I could just say, you could look at New York City and say the same thing.
Exactly.
Where we all know there's something that's just not right. And it's more than one thing that's making it not right. And that's really one of the reasons why I got into politics, because I think that, I'm not saying I've got my finger on it, but I'm going to propose some pretty different ideas. Like, when you look at somebody who's overweight or they're not healthy, you wouldn't think about they got to be vegetarian or they got, but these things all come together. And so I think, Brenda, you're onto something, which is we definitely got to get healthier food. We got to get everybody exercising more, and we got to get New York City on a better diet than they are right now, because the diet that New York City's on is bad. And I can go into that a little more, or I can, whatever you want to do.
Hey, man, we could talk whatever you want to talk about, man. But I thought Eric was trying to put the plant-based meals, and he got pushback.
Right. The first two things he got pushed back on was riding his bike instead of taking the thing, because the cops had to also ride bikes with him. Like, and the second one was introducing more plant-based stuff in the schools and stuff, and having more plant-based options. And those are the first two things those are the first two things he got major pushback when he first got in office.
Well, when I look at the history of what they've done in the schools, and it goes back to rap, because rap came from when they took all the musical instruments out of the schools. And, we're just gonna play with what we have. So I would say, we're gonna have a lot to talk about when you talk about things that you could change in New York. Mm-hmm. But you got to have the food back in the schools, because in a lot of schools, the kids are not getting fed well at home. And, you have to accept that reality. And then you got to add back the after school programs, if you go to, the other day, I was at a place in Astoria houses called the Cornerstone Community Center. And this is for kids who at, 3 o'clock or 3:30, if they go home, it's not good. There's nothing at home for them. There's no adult there, or the adult there doesn't have kind of their eye on what's the right thing for the future for the kid. These centers are great. They go in there, the kids come in the directions. He looks at the kids in the eyes. He's like, "How was your day? Right. What did you learn at school? Get over here, look me in the eye, say hello to Mr. Dolan, because I happen to be there." And, that's AJ knows I'm originally from Westchester, and there's such a huge difference between what I would call the basic social structure of Westchester, where it's good. It's not good everywhere, but it's good compared to the Bronx or compared to Queens, where, you kind of have this thing where things that we take for granted, people in Westchester would take for granted. They're unimaginable. They're unimaginable that you don't have a home, you don't have knowledgeable parents, you don't have a teacher. If you're a kid in New York, you are really at risk right from the get-go. And so that's something that's profoundly difficult to fix. And just like what Brenda's saying, it's if you want to look at the diet of New York City, it's terrible. But good luck trying to fix it. You got to really get the information out, and you got to be patient. So I think that's what you're trying to do, Brenda. I really support it. And then, it's very similar to what I'm trying to do to New York City, which is a very tall task.
So Marty, man, how can, I don't know on the New York City politics level, right? But I know in federal, you got all these people taking money from Big Pharma. You know, they're taking money from all these different, all these different health companies, which make money off us being sick. So how can we trust these politicians who get millions of dollars from these corporations that profit on us being sick? That they're really going to they're really going to look out for our best interest in health. You know, because I was watching the whole thing with go ahead.
It's a really big issue. And I'm going to start by just, introduce myself a little bit to the audience. I ran against Congressman Bowman briefly before County Executive Latimer came in. And then I transitioned to run against AOC. And now I'm running for public advocate in New York
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm running for public advocate in New York City.
Oh, okay.
And people say, like, do you hate the socialists? Okay, don't hate the socialists, but what I've seen happen is that the people in the Democratic Party have lost they don't connect their righteousness. They have righteousness, which is good. I thought Representative Bowman was a righteous man. Like he is full of belief. He believes what he believes. But then he's talking about Israel, and you're like, what about the people in Co-op City? What about the locals? And the thing with the Democrats is by taking their, some of the causes that they've supported, they've missed some obvious causes. I think campaign, and I've said this, like, I'm not a fan of Bernie Sanders. I'm not a fan of AOC, but they're right about campaign finance reform.
Right. Absolutely.
And by the way, it isn't like if you look at the race in the 16th congressional district, which was the most expensive, congressional race ever. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying it would have been different without the money, but you had $35 million spent for, there wasn't much learned by, Latimer and Bowman, starting with Dolan, but that's terrible. AOC spent $8 million to defeat a nobody, and she got 20,000 votes. $8 million would go a long way in the Bronx and Queens in that district.
Right. That
would be like, money from heaven. So I think that let's go all the way back to Alexander Hamilton and James Madison and the founding fathers and all that. They had never had the idea that there would be pharmaceutical companies investing billions of dollars into corrupting Congress. Now you could say that there was corruption then of a different sort, which is that they were a bunch of white guys and some of them were slave owners, and so there was a different type of corruption. But I think that you really need to look hard at campaign finance reform, and I think Senator Sanders is right about that. I think you're right about that. I don't think it's only the congressional lobbying. I think it's also the races. Now, if you go to, I lived in England. You go to England, I don't think you can spend, 50,000 pounds to get elected to the House of Commons. I think the limit is so small that the only way you can spend the money is to go out and talk to the people. Well, that's I'm okay with that. And I think that I also lived in Washington. I wasn't working for the government. I was very briefly interning in the public defender's office. I was trying to think I was going to be a lawyer, but you go through Washington and that whole corridor, K Street, is filled with lobbyists. Mm-hmm. So I think if you don't have trust in the government, if you don't basically trust the government, which we'll get on to Trump and what they're trying to do and everything like that. Mm-hmm. If you don't have trust in the government, you're just going to have a problem. And I think that's where we are now. And I'm not an expert on the Black community or the Chinese community or the Jewish community, but you do get this sense that people just don't trust the government because there's so much money going in there.
There was such a breakdown, lack of trust and a breakdown of being in touch with what the actual community the communities they serve needed, and that's what we saw in the last election. This was the response in the last election. A lot of people have been told the same thing over and over and over, and they decided to go a different way at this point. You know what I'm saying? Because people weren't in touch. You know, again, we still have the same health issues, which is what we started talking about. Our kids are still eating the same thing. They're getting subpar educations. Your taxes are too high. Your potholes is killing your car.
Right.
I remember Damien talking about having to do a lineman twice in 1 year in his car because the Mount Vernon streets didn't just beat up his car. He had to get
Where does he live, AJ?
He got it done in the early part of the year and had to get it done again in the same year for the same car because it got the potholes was that bad.
Those white guys fill up their swimming pools in March, and the guys in the Bronx got to go get their front end, put back together.
And see you, and that's why I say we need to be more as people. We need to get more into our local politics because it's hard to change things on a federal level, just starting straight up. You can do more change in your local elections. Your in cities like Yonkers, the school district is under the city. So your mayor is very instrumental in how your school runs. You know what I'm saying? And then, in a city like Mount Vernon, so they have the school district separate. Your school board is very important because they appoint your superintendent and how your school is run and the foods your kid are eating and all those things and how they're being educated. That's your school board. You know what I'm saying? And our city council does the legislation and stuff that can do local legislation of putting a cap on Chinese food stores and fast food stores in your community or whatever and stuff like that. That's your city council. You have to participate in these meetings. They go to council meetings or school board meetings. We complain about stuff, but we don't get active. And we complain on what Trump is doing or what's happening in Washington, and we're not paying attention to what's going on in our backyard. In our
so let me react to that. So again, I haven't won anything yet, but I've had it's pretty. I'm almost like a political explorer because I've seen what I would call the wealthier part of Westchester. I've seen the part that's not so wealthy. I've been in all through the Bronx, all through Queens, Manhattan. Like I've seen the whole continuum. And I would say the one thing that you see, just to give you an example, we're going through petitioning season now. So we're trying to get on the ballot now.
Right.
So, if you can, and I've got to get, like 10 or 12,000 signatures to make sure I get enough, signatures so I can survive the challenges. So if you go through Queens, you go through the Bronx, whatever, and you get to Manhattan. In Manhattan, the Democratic clubs are they're so well organized. There's the Lexington Avenue Dems, there's the Chelsea Reform Dems, there's the West Side Dems, there's the Grand Street Dems, and they come out on Tuesday night to these meetings that you're like, who would want to go to these meetings? But they go and they care. And then what they do is they petition for candidates, and their endorsements mean something. So if you get endorsed by, the Chelsea Reform Democrats, you get 30 people who are out petitioning for you. There's nothing like that in the Bronx. There's literally nothing. You think Co-op City, why don't they have a Co-op City Democratic Club? Maybe they do, but there's nothing like it in Queens. Literally, it's so simple of a thing to do. Now, then you get to Westchester, in Dobbs Ferry, they have that. And in Scarsdale, they have that. And so that's the way you create political.
And in Mount Vernon, you have it in Fleetwood. You have the Fleetwood, you have the homeowner, the association, the Fleetwood Citizen Society. You have the groups like that in Fleetwood. We don't have enough on the South Side, in our communities, we don't have this.
Yeah. So the Indivisible guys, New York Indivisible and whatever, they're trying to create that, and full credit to them. I give a lot of credit to what I call the progressives. I call them, some of them, the radicals, but the progressives, whatever you call them, they're trying to put that together. And to their credit, they'll probably have in New York City, they're going to punch above their weight. In other words, I don't think that New York is as progressive as the primary vote shows, but they turn out, like they do the work, and they know the system. And so my message to like, if you want to have a healthy political power, just get organized, get to the meetings, and then you only get in politics what you can take, and you take it with with political power. And the people in the Bronx and in Queens are much less able to do that than it seems like they do in Manhattan. In Manhattan, there's more money, there's more free time. I mean, I don't know. There's
Well, you have a different mindset. You have a different mindset in the boroughs. Like the Bronx is probably just disorganized, but Manhattan and Brooklyn, you have a whole different mindset, especially in the Black community, as how they deal with politics. Westchester, we still trying to figure out how do we put it together.
We have city committees where they have neighborhood committees,
right?
And see a city committee made up of people all through the city might not have the best interest in my community.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So we need more of the the community. Other groups have this. They have their community committees. You know what I'm saying? They have their community groups.
Yeah, AJ, I remember in the race, the Bowman-Latimer race, I remember they were rolling through that. They had the Greenberg Democrats, they endorsed George, and they kind of go through it, and you're like, hey, look, that's a good system, because that's the people speaking. They don't have that, like they don't have it in
but that's
the city committees though.
Yeah, the city committees
don't speak for the community. Like if you get enough district leaders in charge, you know what I'm saying? Like enough district leaders that vote a certain way or support a certain candidate, you can get a candidate in there as the endorsed candidate. But that might not be what's best for my community. Like I said, in Mount Vernon, you have a couple of committees and groups like that in Fleetwood. On that side of town, you have the homeowners association, you got the Fleetwood Citizen Society, you got Fleetwood Neighborhood Association, you got and then and the other groups like that. I can't remember all of them. You don't have that. So what you said about Greenberg, that was for the village of Greenberg, but Fairview is not represented. They don't have the best interest in Fairview. You know what I'm saying? Like Fairview, their own group. So it's still, even though these city and town committees don't speak for all the communities in that city. And until our community gets on that track to get involved, because these same people, they don't just get involved in the congressional race and the mayor race. They get involved in the school board race. They get involved in the library trustee race. They get involved in.
Full credit to the progressives. They turn up on Tuesday night and they sit there and they think about it, and they have more energy. Like one of them has more energy than two or three people. And if you don't have that in your community, whatever, the one community where it is pretty strong is Harlem. I think Harlem actually has.
They have some strong.
They have some pretty energetic.
Yes.
There's like a substance there. Like you can figure out who to go to kind of say, how do I talk to the people? But in a lot large parts of the Bronx and Queens, you go to these meetings and there's 20 people,
Before we go like fully and get all into politics, I wanted to extend an invitation to Brenda. If she doesn't want it, she can stay on the show the rest of the show. But if not, if she wanted to address anything else with the health aspect and then cut out, or you can just stay and be involved in the whole show. That's up to you. But you came, we switch gears, and I wanted to give you that opportunity and not get lost in it.
Well, okay. Thank you. Well, I'll just reiterate, and this is a plea or request to our elected officials within the city of Mount Vernon and the county, the state that represents Mount Vernon. When you're having in any city, not just Mount Vernon, we're talking Westchester County and state, that when you are having events, please add healthier food option choice for the people. And I want to say this is another thing that's very important, especially when you're offering events where people have to pay. because you buy a ticket, and in the price of the ticket is the cost of the food. The food is a part of that makeup of the ticket. And then a person get there and there's nothing for them to eat, but they've purchased a ticket.
150, 250,000
is included. You know, right. I attended a very nice event, very lovely event. However, when it came to the time to eat, I mean, when I say absolutely nothing to eat, there was absolutely nothing to eat. All the meats, so I'm not doing meats. The vegetables, some of them did not have meats, but they added butter, cheese, other animal byproducts.
And salt, and a whole bunch of salt.
The salad said, okay, well, there's salad. I go over to the salad, and there's what kind of cheese is it?
Parmesan cheese.
Parmesan cheese, maybe. And not even if you are a cheese eater, you might not eat Parmesan cheese. Parmesan cheese sprinkled throughout the whole salad. So that just messed up the whole salad for me. So there was really literally nothing for me to eat. However, I purchased the ticket, and within that ticket is the cost of the food. So I'm asking people who are hosting events, sponsoring events, please consider that. Please do more than consider. Start adding healthy options. Let's build healthier communities.
Especially those galas.
Word alone, but in action. Let's put some action.
Was this at a restaurant or was it at a hall?
A church, a black church.
Oh, so the food was already cooked.
It was catered and brought. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, see, then but I mean, we have to start. Yeah, that's just being mindful. Not everybody eats that.
And again, it's about building healthy communities, about people who are sponsoring, hosting events to start thinking about the community they're in, start thinking about health and wealth.
And that's why I brought this up, because while Brenda's having this conversation as we're coming from the event, I had these same conversations with Damon as he's come. You paid $150 or $200 for a ticket, and you can't eat nothing there, and then you got to go to somewhere to get something to eat after leaving there because you're hungry because there was nothing for you to eat, and you just spent $150, $200 there.
Well, usually if it's at a catering hall, you could tell the waiter to bring you out a vegan option.
But here's the thing: you shouldn't have to tell the waiter that. The people who are sponsoring and hosting should be offering more healthier options, because even sometimes people say, "Okay, we're gonna have a vegetarian." Take a little time to learn the difference. A vegetarian,
if it's pre-catered, but if it's at a catering hall, you just tell the waiter that you want a vegan option, and the cook will make it for you.
Absolutely. I've done that. But what I'm saying is that people who are sponsoring, hosting events,
they don't care.
Thinking with a healthier mind, because not only for the people you're inviting, but for yourself, a healthier option. And I had started to say about people saying, we're going to have a vegetarian option. That still would not be a whole food plant-based option, because there's vegetarians eat animal byproducts, eggs, milk, butter, cheese, that kind of stuff. They just don't eat meat. So a vegetarian option would not fit for a person who has a whole food, plant-based, vegan diet. I'm just saying, let's be more conscious about our choices that we're making to put forth to people, providing option. And most importantly, let's start to move on building healthier communities, healthier people, healthier children. Our children got obesity at 10 and 11 years old. Heart problems, diabetes, cholesterol at 10 and 11 and younger. It's the food we're eating, people. It's killing us.
And Damon, the point you made, we went to a gala, and Brenda went with me, and she did tell the waiter, and
they did.
It never came out. She never got the food. So she never ate. Like, she kept saying, well, where's the food? Like, she went through the whole thing with the waiter, and the waiter went to the chef, and at first they said they couldn't make whatever for her. And then she went back again. Eventually, she didn't eat that night. She didn't eat at the event, and she did do just what you said. And this was at one of the country clubs in New Rochelle.
Right. I remember that. You're right.
They cooked the food right there. So sometimes that don't even work, Damon, because I've actually seen an example where that didn't work.
Sometimes they're not chefs; they're cooks. They're not chefs. There's a difference between a cook and a chef. A chef can chef up. A chef can put together some stuff. A cook is kind of
they supposed to, in situations like that, they supposed, even if they make you a salad, right? They're supposed to offer you something as an alternative. Now, if it's pre-cooked, you know, if they're back in the kitchen cooking, and the waiters are coming out, they're supposed to already have an alternative for people that for whoever got allergies, whoever got this, whoever got that. You know, usually it's on the sheet when they give you the choices of foods. But and if they can't do that, then I mean, bring out a salad. You know, if you can't, you know, if you back in the kitchen, you got a chef hat on, you can't chop up a salad, bro. Then you shouldn't be at that venue. Like, you know, I'm just saying, like, you know, you shouldn't be at that venue.
We need you in New York City.
You know what? But you know what,
You
David? It's crazy because they sometimes I lost my thought, but it's what you're saying is true. But it's just like, it's just crazy. Like, what I was gonna say, the organization throwing the event. So as the vice president of the Mount Vernon NAACP, the first gala we had at Green Tree. With the executive committee, we went through all the menu options and we voted on what was going to be served, what the menu options was going to be. So that's why I say the organizations, the leaders of the organizations, when they have these functions, that's part of throwing the function, picking the food, selecting the food that is going to be served. You have the power because you're having this big function. You're spending the thousands and thousands of dollars to have it there, to have it at the event. You can ask for those options, and we need our leaders that have these functions. They have these annual galas, and all the elected officials have these fundraisers, these big top dollar fundraisers that they want you to come to. When they book the place, they have the option of asking what food options they want. So we need our leaders and the heads of these organizations to do that as well. And I think that's one of the things Brenda was saying as for. Yeah. But if you're not staying with us, Brenda, any last words? If you are staying, then you can stay. I'm not kicking you off. I just want to know.
No, I'm good. I'm gonna go off. I might probably hang around and post up some things, some meeting dates and stuff within the city. You're talking politics. Before I leave, I will say we do need to be more involved in our local politics. We have more control in our local politics than we do at the even state and federal level. We have more within our local city, towns, and villages, and we do need to get involved. So I'll just be posting up some stuff in regards to Mount Vernon, the local things that are coming.
And before you leave, while we're talking about food options in our cafeterias and our schools, we have an important school board election coming up. School board trustee election. Those are the people that make some of those decisions. So when these people are coming around asking you for your signatures and stuff, because they need your signatures to get on a ballot, then they need your votes to get into the position, that's when you need to be questioning them. You know what I'm saying? On what their thoughts on these things are before you just arbitrarily sign their thing because they put a piece of paper in front of you, or before you go in and vote for them. You know what I'm saying? That's your time to ask these questions. And we have an important school board election coming up very soon.
Tuesday, May 20th is school board trustee and budget vote for all the local towns and cities and village within. I think it's just like the state of New York is all the same. Okay. Tuesday, May 20th is school board budget vote. And yes, right here in Mount Vernon, we're going through some issues now with the food service company that we have in the school and the quality of food that's being given to the children. We're not even talking about plant-based and nothing like that. We're just talking about the quality of the food that's given, the options. So yeah, it's very important to be involved and engaged in these meetings and these elections. So yes, we do have Tuesday, May 20th, 2025 is school board trustee election and budget vote. People are asking for signatures. Think about what AJ said. All right, I'm signing out. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for your. You're always welcome. You're always welcome to come on and air it out. And just whatever, whenever you want to hit a topic or so. So we thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, I'm out.
All right. Thank you for everybody that's tuning in.